Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests from Dhwani.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My email ID is abhishek.mi.mishra@oracle.com. I'm no traveling salesman, I'm not here to sell anything, please don't mistake. Recently, a new colleague of mine at Oracle asked me, what does MI mean in my email ID? I had no answer at that point of time. But as my story unfolds in front of you, all of you will be able to understand what it really means. I had no idea at that point of time, but recently I realized it means something. 2 years ago, I became a father, and as a first-time parent, anybody and everybody here who is a parent themselves, they would realize what is the joy, the bliss, the subtle gentle moments that you go through. It is an absolute bliss. But looking back, I feel that as forthcoming as I should have been as a young parent, as a new father, I wasn't. I was a bit afraid, a bit reluctant, a bit reticent, and I didn't do as much as I should have as a father supporting my wife in her new role for herself as well. I don't know what was the reason. As I reflect and I recollect, I think either it was a laziness within me or a deep-seated male chauvinism. I don't know. While I was at on-site recently in the US, I got to know from my wife, and yes, we are a perfect IT couple. Both of us are in the IT industry. So when I'm away, she's here, and when she's away, I'm here. So she called up and told me that she has an opportunity to be at US for a few weeks. So being a doting husband, I had no option but to say, have no fear, I'll be there. So yeah, she took up the opportunity, and so the point of time where I came back and she had to fly out, there were only 7 days. Only 7 days of crash course to pick up all the nuances of babysitting, diaper changing, feeding, putting the baby to sleep, everything. But going back to the original question, after 2 years of being a father, why was I getting scared? Why? Because I had been a reticent father all this while. I had gladly outsourced the function of parenthood partially to my wife, assuming that most part of the parenthood is done by the mother. The story will unfold and you'll see what happened. So I landed on Saturday night and she was to fly out in the next Saturday dawn. So my crash course began. I started picking up all the skills, all the tricks. I had no idea that managing a baby is much more difficult than managing a project that I had been doing for years. It is much more complex. So on the evening before the flight my wife had to take, I started getting jittery. I started getting cold feet, and the stress was becoming palpable. My wife noticed it. It didn't go unnoticed, thankfully. She asked me, do you think you're really up to it? What did I say? Have no fear, I am here. So she gladly took the flight out and she went on her trip, and my adventure began. It's a long story, I cannot cover it in the time span that I have, but doing the best that I could, I did everything for 16 and a half nights. I counted literally every hour. 16 and a half nights, I had that adventure. And to compound everything, the complexity, for the first 2 nights, my aged parents who stay with us normally, they were also out of town. So I had all the more joy, I would say. Then finally, the joyful day came back and my wife was back. And on that day, I don't know how happy my daughter was. I was the happiest soul in Bangalore that day. I was really, really glad to see her back. Probably she was glad to see me back. I mean, in one piece. But looking back, if you think in developed countries, unlike South Asian countries like India, you will notice that men do a lot more in terms of parenting, in terms of taking care of their children. I'll give you a simple example. You go to any public mall or any public area, you'll notice that the restrooms have a diaper changing platform in the men's restroom as well. You'll not notice it in anywhere in India. I'm told that it is only there in the ladies' restroom. I don't know, I haven't visited, I'm told. But across US and Europe, I have seen that it is there in the men's restroom as well. What does that say? It's a very simple but a very loud message that men do a lot more than just being a man of the house. Right? Why is it so different between those countries and India? It is worth an academic debate. We can always ponder and we can always improve upon that. But every night, after putting my daughter to sleep, I would sit back. Of course, after wiping off the sweat of my forehead, I would wonder, I would keep on pondering, why have I been such a jerk or maybe whatever? why haven't I supported my wife all this while? Why haven't I been more forthcoming and offered more help to my wife in the daily management activities? That is very tough. She manages her work. She also does 10 to 12 hours of work. She does the babysitting at home. She does many more things. And she yet appears to be sane. If I was looking at myself in the mirror in those 16 days, I didn't look sane at all. I did not. So I had a plan that once my wife is back, I'll be a different man. I'll try to support my wife a bit more, as much as I could, to the best of my ability. Right. So once my wife was back, I gave her this confession, and in return, I asked her a question. I think you are very lucky. She asked me why, and you know what I said? I think you are very, very lucky because you are a very nice husband. Right. And at the end, I realized what is the meaning of MI in my email ID. It means I am the chosen one. Destiny has chosen me to be the man for Mission Impossible every time. Thank you all.